My sister-in-law hijacked our honeymoon with my husband's credit card, then demanded we pay her bill. Hi, I'm Hannah, 32 years old, newly married, and just came back from what was supposed to be my honeymoon. I married Ryan, 34, sweet, chill, and everything I thought I needed to balance out the chaos that is my life. We'd been together for 5 years, and honestly, I thought the hardest part would be planning the wedding. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. The wedding itself, fine, pretty. A little dramatic, sure, but mostly as expected. The real storm didn't hit until after, and that storm came with perfectly manicured nails, a pouty lip, and a broken heart she refused to let anyone forget about. Ryan's younger sister, Chelsea. She's 29 and had been single for, about 8 months after her fiancé dumped her for someone with emotional stability. Since then, it's been a nonstop pity tour. Every family gathering, tears. Every social media post, sad quotes over wine glasses. You get the vibe. Now, I wasn't exactly Chelsea's biggest fan before, but I never imagined she'd do what she did. See, Ryan and I had been planning our honeymoon for over a year. Palm Haven retreat, private villa, ocean view, in-room infinity pool, spa treatments, the whole fantasy package. We saved every penny we could. Total cost, just under $10,000. Big for us. Huge, actually. But we figured, hey, you only get one first honeymoon, right? Turns out we were wrong about that, too. The first few days at Palm Haven were bliss. We slept in, soaked in the pool, ate our body weight in fresh seafood. I kept telling Ryan, this is the best decision we've ever made. We were finally relaxing, just us. And then it happened. We were at dinner, candlelight, ocean breeze, ridiculously overpriced wine, when Ryan suddenly went stiff, like someone had sucker punched him through the back of the head. I turned around, and there she was, Chelsea, dressed like she was about to hit a club, dragging a suitcase behind her and acting like we'd just forgotten to invite her to brunch. Surprise! She beamed, arms out like she expected hugs and applause. I nearly choked on my scallop. Ryan, to his credit, didn't hug her. He stood up and asked flat out, "What are you doing here?" Chelsea pouted. "I needed time to heal. You guys get a honeymoon. I needed one too. So I booked the same resort. Hope that's okay." It was not. And then came the kicker. She didn't even book it herself. She used Ryan's credit card, the one she had access to because she helped us book the wedding florist months ago. I could feel my blood pressure spike like a firework. Ryan pulled her aside while I sat there in stunned silence, downing my wine like it might help erase what just happened. He came back 20 minutes later, jaw tight. She says she didn't think we'd mind, that she's depressed, that no one's there for her. That was her defense. Emotional trauma and a stolen Amex. It got worse. She didn't just stay at the same resort. She booked a villa right next to ours at double the price because it was last minute and peak season. That's another $6,000. Minimum. She joined us for breakfast, tried to follow us on couples massages, cried during a sunset cruise she wasn't invited on. By day 4, Ryan and I were whispering our plans to each other like fugitives, changing our dinner reservations last minute, ducking into spa rooms like we were hiding from the paparazzi. And the thing is, she truly believed she was doing us a favor. "I'm making your honeymoon more real," she told me once, flipping her hair and sipping a mimosa she probably charged to our room. No, Chelsea, you were turning it into a hostage situation. And then came the final straw, the one that made me realize this wasn't going to blow over. She booked a guided hike for all 3 of us without asking. When we told her no, that we'd planned snorkeling that day, she pouted like a toddler and said, "I can't go alone in a foreign country, it's dangerous." But this wasn't some sketchy jungle. It was a resort town with Starbucks and Wi-Fi. Still, she wouldn't back off, so Ryan and I told her we'd meet her after breakfast, then slipped away and went snorkeling instead. We didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. That night, we made a decision. We were going to leave. Not the resort, the island. We booked a flight to a neighboring one and checked into a brand new resort under a fake last name. It cost us another $3,800 we hadn't planned for, but it was worth every cent. We turned off our phones, ate in peace, slept like babies. But when we finally turned our phones back on 3 days later, our inboxes exploded. Chelsea was furious. She'd been left with a resort bill, couldn't check out, and had to call her parents, Greg and Elaine, to bail her out. Apparently, the credit card company flagged the charges and reversed them. She blamed us. We abandoned her, she said. We humiliated her, and then her parents got involved. If you're not following our channel, you might never see it again. But if you're subscribed and use the bell, congratulations. You'll always have access to the most interesting stories whenever you want to watch and listen. So, after ghosting Chelsea for 3 glorious days on a different island, Ryan and I returned to our regular lives. Tan, exhausted, and bracing ourselves for whatever mess was waiting back home. We were not disappointed. The moment we landed, Ryan's phone blew up. Missed calls, voicemails, a few texts with so many all-caps words you'd think someone was being held for ransom. But no, it was just Chelsea, still fuming about being abandoned. And by the time we got back to our apartment, it wasn't just Chelsea who was mad. It was Greg and Elaine, Ryan's parents, people who up until now I thought were relatively sane. Turns out I was wrong about that too. We hadn't even unpacked before Elaine called us for a quick chat. I knew we were in trouble the moment she dropped into that passive-aggressive tone only suburban moms can master. "We're just confused," she said. "Why did you leave Chelsea alone in a foreign country?" Ryan was dead silent. I stepped in. "Because she crashed our honeymoon and used his credit card to do it?" Elaine sighed. "She's fragile. You know what she's been through. Her therapist says she needs connection right now." "She needs boundaries," I snapped. "And maybe therapy that doesn't involve luxury resorts and someone else's wallet." Greg chimed in with, "Well, you did let her use the card once for wedding stuff. How was she supposed to know the limit?" Ryan finally exploded. "She booked a $6,000 villa next to ours. That's not an oops." But it didn't matter. They weren't listening. They wanted an apology. From us. It became a circus. Chelsea posted a long rant on Facebook about how her brother and his cold-hearted wife abandoned her in a time of need. People started messaging us asking what happened. One of Ryan's aunts emailed us a Bible verse about forgiveness. Meanwhile, Ryan and I were staring at a credit card bill that made us both nauseous. Our honeymoon, which we had saved for over a year, had cost us double. Not because we splurged, because she did, and then had the nerve to demand we pay for it. 1 week later, we got a letter. Not from Chelsea, from a collections agency. She had listed Ryan's card as the primary on another booking, one we never even knew about. A day trip she had scheduled for the same week we ditched her. She never paid for it. The company wanted $1,245, and they were holding us responsible. That's when Ryan lost it. He called Chelsea. She didn't answer. He called his parents. They said, "We're not getting involved." That was the moment I realized they weren't just ignoring it, they were enabling it. The next day, we filed a fraud report on every charge tied to her. The resort, the excursions, the extra airline seat she accidentally booked because she needed extra legroom for her anxiety. We froze the card, changed the passwords, Ryan removed Chelsea as an authorized user, and we sent her a formal letter. It was short. "You are no longer welcome in our finances. Do not contact us for money. Any further charges will be handled by our lawyer." We CC'd her parents. They replied with one sentence, "We expected better from you." We expected better too. But sometimes family doesn't mean protection. Sometimes it means damage control. And that's what I knew this wasn't going to end with one ruined honeymoon. It was just beginning. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. We figured cutting her off would be the end of it. I mean, what else could Chelsea possibly do? She had humiliated herself, buried us in debt, and still had the nerve to act like we were the problem. Surely she'd run out of energy, or better yet, shame. But nope. 2 weeks after we sent that letter, Ryan got served at work. Chelsea was suing him. Not for emotional distress, not for libel, for reimbursement. She claimed he had promised to pay for her stay at the Palm Haven retreat, that it was a joint family experience and she'd been invited under false pretenses. The court filing was 3 pages of delusion wrapped in legalese. She included screenshots of a text from Ryan months ago where he'd said, "If you need anything for the wedding, just use the card. We trust you." She tried to use that one sentence to justify $9,000 in charges. It would have been laughable if it wasn't so infuriating. Ryan was pale, quiet. I was shaking. Are we seriously getting sued for not paying for someone who stole from us? I asked. Apparently, yes. We hired a lawyer. Not a cheap one either, because we weren't about to let Chelsea get away with rewriting history. He reviewed the texts, the credit card statements, the resort reservations, the collection agency letter, and then he said something that actually made me feel a little better. She's bluffing, but she's aggressive. People like this count on exhaustion to win. He was right. Chelsea didn't want to fight. She wanted submission. She wanted us to get tired, to give in, to pay her off just to make her go away. But not this time. We countered, filed a fraud claim officially, submitted screenshots of Chelsea admitting in a group chat that she surprised us and didn't think we'd notice the charge, sent emails from the resort manager confirming she checked in alone, paid nothing upfront, and had the room billed to Ryan's account. We even pulled up flight records. She booked her plane ticket the night of our wedding, using Ryan's credentials, not because she was invited, because she followed us. And then we made the final move. We called the credit card company and gave them everything. Timeline, evidence, statement from our lawyer. They froze the account and launched a full fraud investigation. Turns out that card, she'd been using it for months. Gas, takeout, Uber rides, and even a freaking psychic consultation. Over $12,000 in unauthorized charges. The case never made it to court. Chelsea backed down, dropped the suit 2 days before the hearing. Her parents begged us not to press charges. We said we'd think about it, and then filed anyway. The charges stuck. She had to settle, pay back a portion, lost her job when her employer found out, and her credit? Trashed. Her Instagram turned private. Her healing journey stopped getting updates. The pity parade went silent. And Ryan? He finally saw what I'd been saying for years. Family doesn't give you the right to destroy other people, I told him. He nodded, tears in his eyes. We're done with them. For good this time. And you know what? We really were. The silence was the loudest thing I'd heard in months. After months of Chelsea's chaos, surprise charges, weaponized tears, a lawsuit that would have made Judge Judy cackle, everything just stopped. And at first, that made me even more anxious. You ever feel that weird stillness right after a storm? Like you don't believe it's really over? That was us. Ryan spent hours pacing the apartment, checking the mail obsessively. I had dreams, full-blown stress dreams of Chelsea showing up again, this time at our doorstep, holding a newborn and saying it was his. Don't ask, dreams are weird. But none of that happened because, finally, we were free. We didn't celebrate like we thought we would. You'd think after beating back a surprise vacation hijacker turned courtroom menace, we'd throw a party or something. But no, we were just tired. Mentally, physically, financially. We ate microwave burritos on the couch for a week straight, slept in clothes, didn't speak much except to grunt over bills or emails. It was like survival mode never really turned off.
And then, one morning, Ryan brought me a folded-up piece of paper, 2 plane tickets. And for the first time in weeks, he smiled. The new honeymoon wasn't flashy. A cabin 2 hours north in the Rockies, no Wi-Fi, no infinity pools, just firewood, a cozy bed, and a lot of hot chocolate. But that's what made it perfect. We stayed up late playing card games, made snow angels like kids, and roasted marshmallows until my hair smelled like campfire. And for the first time since the wedding, we felt married. Not just married on paper, married in soul. We talked a lot, too, about Chelsea, about his parents, about why it took a financial ambush and a lawsuit to realize how unhealthy his family really was. I used to think I was the problem, he admitted one night, sitting beside me on a wool blanket near the fire, that maybe I wasn't doing enough for them. But now I see I was never allowed to be enough. That hit me like a punch to the chest, because I'd felt that too. For months, I'd question if I was overreacting, if I was too rigid, if maybe Chelsea really was just misunderstood. But no, she wasn't misunderstood. She was indulged. And that indulgence came at our expense. We made new promises on that trip. No more shared accounts with family. No more brushing off red flags because that's just how they are. No more allowing people to weaponize guilt or history. And when we got back, we put those promises into action. We deleted Chelsea's number. Ryan removed her from every contact form, doctors, banks, even Netflix. We sold the couch she once crashed on, seriously, and bought a new one.
Symbolic? Sure, but necessary. We even hung a tiny wood sign in our entryway. It says, "Peace lives here," and every time we see it, we remember. But Chelsea, she wasn't done yet. Not entirely, because 6 weeks later, she tried one last move, and it was bigger than anything she'd pulled before. It happened on a Monday, because of course it did. Ryan and I had just gotten back into a rhythm, new routines, therapy appointments, actual relaxing weekends, when the past barged through our inbox like it forgot we changed the locks. It was an email, subject line, "You left me no choice, Chelsea." And she didn't just send it to Ryan. She copied his boss, his HR department, and half the contacts from his old college internship list. The message was long, pages long, a rambling manifesto about how Ryan was abusive, controlling, and had financially manipulated her during a time of deep emotional distress. She claimed he encouraged her to come on our honeymoon, said she had documentation that proved he made verbal commitments to fund her trip, said she feared for her safety after he abandoned her on a remote island with no money and gaslit her into believing it was her fault. It was the most unhinged thing I had ever read, but it was smartly written, just coherent enough to make someone unfamiliar go, "Wait, is this real?" And that's what scared me the most. Ryan stared at his screen for a long time. His hands were shaking, not out of guilt, but out of panic. "Do you think they'll believe her?" he whispered. I didn't answer right away, because honestly, I didn't know. We spent the next 48 hours assembling everything: screenshots, receipts, the court filings, a statement from our lawyer, even messages from the resort confirming Chelsea's arrival and behavior. Ryan sent it all to his HR department in a single, carefully written response. And, thankfully, they believed him, completely. Honestly, his manager wrote back, "It's clear you've been targeted. Let us know if you need time off or legal help." I exhaled for the first time in 2 days, but the damage had still rippled. One of Ryan's old professors emailed him asking, "Is everything okay? I got a strange message." We found out Chelsea had also sent the email to my cousin, who lived in another state, and a few mutual friends from our wedding guest list. She wasn't trying to win anything legally anymore. She was trying to scorch earth, destroy reputations, turn allies into skeptics, make sure if she couldn't have control, she'd at least leave a trail of smoke behind. And you know what? It almost worked. We lost a couple of friends. Not close ones, but the kind who quietly unfollowed us on Instagram, who never replied to texts again, who assumed that when drama breaks out, everyone must be a little bit guilty. But we gained something more important: clarity.
Chelsea wasn't acting out of confusion. This was a pattern, a long one, enabled by Greg and Elaine, reinforced by pity, and fed by the belief that consequences only apply to other people. But not this time. We filed for a cease and desist. Our lawyer handled it, and though Chelsea never replied directly, the messages stopped. Completely. She went silent, and for once, we let that silence stay. In the months that followed, we changed a lot. Moved apartments, Ryan got a new job, one where no one had ever heard the name Chelsea before. We built new traditions, Sunday breakfast, Saturday night movie marathons, and even joined a couple's hiking club. Small things, but they felt big to us. Because every time we smiled, it felt like we were reclaiming something she tried to ruin. But the final chapter wasn't written until something happened that neither of us saw coming. A message from Greg. Subject line, "It's time we talked." The subject line was simple. It's time we talked. No exclamation point, no apology, just those 5 words from Greg, Ryan's father, a man who, the last time we spoke, accused us of abandoning family. I didn't open it right away. Ryan didn't either. We just stared at the screen in silence for a full minute, both of us frozen. You'd think after lawsuits and fraud and social media meltdowns, an email wouldn't shake us. But this one, it did. Because this wasn't Chelsea. This was the man who raised her, and for a long time, enabled her. We clicked it together. It was short, no more than a few paragraphs, but every sentence felt heavy. He wrote that he'd seen everything now. The bank records, the court filings, the screenshots we sent when we filed charges. He said that at the time, he truly believed Chelsea's version of events. "She's my daughter," he wrote. "I didn't want to believe she was capable of this." But he knew now, not just because of us, but because Chelsea had done it again. Apparently, after we cut her off, she moved back in with them. And at first, it was all tears and therapy appointments and promises to start fresh. Then the charges started. Greg discovered Chelsea had added his name to a shared online payment platform. She'd been using it to buy things under his identity, deliveries, subscriptions, even a new phone. When he confronted her, she cried again, said she was lonely, said she felt abandoned. Sound familiar? Greg finally reached his limit when he found out she had drained $2,300 from their joint savings account. Elaine, of course, tried to minimize it, but Greg saw the pattern for what it was. He told us he was sorry, not just for doubting us, but for raising someone who believed love was a currency she could spend freely without ever paying it back. That email could have ended the story. We could have just closed the laptop, nodded, and moved on. But instead, Ryan replied, "I appreciate your honesty, but it doesn't fix what happened." Greg said he understood. They haven't spoken since. And that was the right call. Sometimes people think reconciliation means everything goes back to the way it was. It doesn't, and it shouldn't. Sometimes reconciliation means letting go, not just of the fight, but of the fantasy that people will magically become who you need them to be. That was the lesson Ryan and I took from all this. Love isn't enough when it's one-sided. Family doesn't mean blind loyalty. It means safety, respect, accountability. And when those things are gone, you're allowed to walk away, even if the world tells you that's selfish. Chelsea's gone now. Not physically, she still lives somewhere nearby, as far as we know, but emotionally, spiritually, gone. We don't bring her up at dinner. We don't look at old wedding photos where she's front row, fake smiling with her emotional support cocktail. We've archived that chapter, not out of hate, but peace. And every time someone asks me, "So, what happened to that sister-in-law of yours?" I just smile and say, "She went on vacation. We just decided not to follow her anymore." If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What city and country? And have you or someone you know ever been through something like this?